All right, family, and we are live. We are live. Shout to everybody in the chat. You in for a treat tonight. I ain't gonna keep y'all too long tonight. I know a lot of y'all probably watching that debate. It's entertainment for some of y'all. For some of y'all want to know where the country's headed. Everybody has a different reason for doing what they do. I'm not here to judge y'all, but I know a lot of y'all probably watching that and whatever. But we got an important show happening tonight. We got an
Mm,
important show happening tonight, an important discussion happening tonight, and I have an important guest on tonight. And I
mm.
want to take this time to welcome back to the platform. Once again, my sister Vicki Dillard. Welcome back. Welcome
Thank,
back.
thank you so much, King Richard, King Rich. Yes, yes, that's an appropriate title. Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure when you come on here. Spiritually speaking, your energy is one of the brightest energies on this planet. So
Mm,
whenever your presence is on this channel, it's definitely felt. I
mm.
want to start out by saying, how's things been? How's everything going, Vicky?
You know what? I am so extraordinarily blessed and
Mm-hmm,
grateful, Brother Rich.
mm-hmm.
Um, this topic that we're going to discuss tonight, which I ain't gonna tell all the behind the business stuff. But people don't know how Brother Rich roll. He put a demand on your sister just about every time. He give me 5 minutes notice and get to us, Sister Vicky. God bless me.
Oh
So
man.
he treat me spiritual all the way.
Oh
And
man.
I brought that up because I feel like I'm living that reality out in my own life. Actually, this topic tonight, some of
Mm,
the manifestations and things that are going on that I'm doing under contract. And so I think that's right on. So that's how I'm doing. I'm grateful. I'm not going to complain at all, but I'm making gains in terms of health and spiritually and everything else. And so I still got a little ways to go, but you know what? I rejoice in every manifestation, every evolvement. Yes. And I'm being remade in every imaginable way. And I got to say, it's a beautiful thing. It's a privilege to be born in this time space continuum.
how does it feel? Because they say life is your perception creates your reality. How
Mm.
does it feel approaching life from the perspective of being under contract? Because I know what it has done for me once I learned the idea about having a spiritual contract. I'm just curious to know, how has that changed your life and your direction going toward your purpose, knowing that you have a spiritual contract or a spiritual mission or whatever that you have to fulfill? How does that change the game for you?
Yes, sir. Y'all know Brother Rich. Don't nobody ask the questions, Brother Rich. Man, this brother. It's such a beautiful question because you know, I think that when most of us use the term contracts, we automatically think of um, we equate it with a legal document. And I
Mhm.
think for purposes of tonight's broadcast, it might be a good uh, um, opening point for me, because contracts tend to have parts that you're bound by. Yes,
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
terms and conditions that you have to stay within. That's what my life has been about. When there were times of great tension, warfare, I was feeling bound in different parts of my life in these 45 years of living. And I realized that that had everything to do with the previous contract that I made in the ethers before I even touched down on this plane in this particular dispensation. But what I come to know is not just the terms and conditions that I was necessarily bound by and asked to perform, as it were. Yes, we often forget that sometimes these contracts comes with benefits. Yes,
Mhm.
these contracts come with things that that's a quid pro quo, meaning there are benefits for all parties that are involved. And also, what I'm coming to know as I grow spiritually and I mature and stay in that spiritual lab, I'm coming to know it's not just somebody dictating stuff over me. You understand? I was actively involved in
Mhm.
that spiritual document before I got here as well,
Yeah.
and able to activate other beings and entities on other planes that assist me in this plane. And believe it or not, I take care of business in other planes too. So that is a glorious feeling to know that you're affecting this world and also the worlds to come. So that's how I'm feeling about
Oh yeah.
this notion of being bound by these spiritual soul contracts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, definitely. It's it's a beautiful idea to me. and it just kind of assists me in my journey. This idea of spiritual contract, because
Mm,
I know that I'm pretty much I'm unstoppable at fulfilling my destiny. And in the
mhm.
world of illusions, so many things you would think people think is this might happen, that might happen, that might happen. That doesn't affect me because I know that there's unseen forces that it's going to guarantee that it's going to work. So
What you say?
it definitely yeah, it's definitely working out for me good. Just knowing this, and that's why I want to. I had to talk with this topic about Sister Myra, and I said I gotta talk to Vicki about this topic as well. I definitely appreciate both of y'all's spiritual
Shout
approach.
out to the great mother.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah. And Vicky, speaking of the great mother, and I know you speak a lot about the divine feminine energy. I did a magnificent show with you on the sibles, and I know you had like a webinar with Rod Hayes that you did on the sibles. I want to ask
Yes.
you, what do you think the divine purpose, the divine reason for the suppression for so many centuries, so many, it could be thousands of years of the divine feminine energy for these souls to continuously incarnate down here as women, primarily black women, and go through what they are going through in terms of everything being male dominant with the gods and Jesus, and Rod Hayes talked about before was Jesus, it was ISIS.
Yes.
What do you think the divine purpose of this whole thing that y'all went through is about, Vicky Dillard?
That's an interesting question. And I have to say, one of the things that um, our mothers, known as the sibyls, these black prophetesses, they were known by many names: Ishtar, Isis,
Mm-hmm.
um, and different Buddhist practices, Vedic practices, in Christendom, in Islam. It doesn't matter. They were known by different monikers, but the general term that we use to cover these women are the sibyls, Mammy Watts' sibyls. One of the things, and I'll stick to uh, something they prophesied. One of the things that they prophesied was their own doom.
They did. Okay. Did you
They,
say that? I don't remember you saying that.
I can't remember if I said it on here or not, but certainly I'm sure in one of the other
Right,
forums.
but yeah, this is interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off.
After
Yeah.
I did the broadcast with you, you kind of stirred up a little something because I was on another platform with
Excellent.
this very topic and just some other places that these discussions have been had over the past couple of years or so. And one of the things I thought was so profound is this notion that they were prophesying their own end for that particular dispensation, that particular time, yes,
Mm-hmm.
and told Rome and some of the others, because they prophesied the end of Rome, of course, many other kingdoms as well, because they ruled, they literally guided the world, and told them how they would steal their prophecies and how they would misuse their oracles.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty profound.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bringing that up in this particular moment to say that many folks are aware of the story of Jesus, whether you believe him to be God, the Son of God, or some prophet, depending on your background, or not even a real human being at all, but just a principle. One of the, we'll just say, Sunday school stories, one of the parables, the sayings he said was, because he was talking about his crucifixion that would be to come, and he did all these miracles. Yes, he was said to have raised the dead. He was said to have fed large groups of people out of 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Yes, he did the most miraculous things, and he but prophesied his doom that would be that was to come, which was the resurrection, which was the crucifixion, and then ultimately this notion of the resurrection. And he said this phrase, Brother Rich, he said, "You will say to me, physician, heal thyself." That meant that you who heal others, you who are this conjurer, this miracle worker, why don't you prevent your own self from this doom, since you were able to heal the sick and raise the dead and do all of these miraculous things? But I bring that up to simply say what I sense from my mothers. And when I say mothers in this context, I'm talking about our great Mary Wallace siblings. Yes, that energy, that spirit, that particular counsel that is with me. There is a divine purpose of transformation that's taking place, this remaking that involved Mammy Wata and her sibles as we know them, as we knew of them thousands of years ago, until now being formed for such a time as this. They also affect other dimensions because these women were not just those that prophesied in the earth realm. Remember, they called up the dead and they called down the gods.
Right, right.
And when you study a bit where they're from, they use stories of the galactic and the solar system. They have a connection to those dimensions and realms. And I bring that up to simply say there's a greater purpose that's being affected in other dimensions, which served a greater purpose by them allowing themselves, you understand, to be disintegrated and certainly being resurrected for this particular time. And I said this to my brothers and pillars the other day when we had an interview. When you are the Ancient of Days, which is a prophetic phrase, when you are the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, when you are the original stuff of all creation and the cosmic material, what is 500 years? What is 6,000 years? What is that? What is that little bit of time where we say they're not here in that particular way? There's a greater glory. And I should say to you, in fact, we are part of that reemergence of them, that enthroning of Mammy Wata's sibles for such a time as this, not only in this place, this geographical place that we call Rome and St. Peter's Basilica, but might I say, how about the Vatican here in these United States, perhaps Washington, D.C.? They're taking over and their thrones are being reestablished. Their temples are being reestablished and they're recolonizing the planet in this particular time. So keep in mind that they're not limited to their existence and to their expression in just this human avatar. And because they're connected to multiple dimensions, there are greater purposes that can be served by them allowing themselves, you understand, and cooperating with a particular energy for such a time as this, something that they're working in the earth, but also working in the other worlds. And so that's how I would answer that particular question.
Excellent. So I often like to use video games as analogies when it comes to describing life, because people describe this realm as a video game or as a movie or as a play. There's different ways to describe it. But let's say it's a video game, Vicki. And I remember when I was a kid, and let's say I'm playing a basketball game, in order for the game to be interesting, I would need my friend to play the game with me. So I got one joystick, he has a joystick. And we will go at it with each other. I mean, go at it hard. We try to destroy each other in the video game. Now, do you think it's like that? Because when we say soul contracts, these are pre-agreements before birth. Do you think, like, let's say the person trying to tear you up, like I was trying to tear my friend up in a video game, do you think that's a possibility that might be your best friend in another realm? Say a person that you just can't get along with in this realm, and you just keep running into them. You keep running into them. And you're like, what the hell? I just can't get rid of this person. Do you think it's similar to like that video game where you can't because you're playing the game together, but after this realm or after this life is done, you're back to being best friends? Do you think that makes sense according to your intuition and your channeling and everything that you studied?
It's a fascinating way of describing that. I'm thinking about some of the things that I deal with and some of the recurring forms of resistance and friction that I deal with on this particular plane. And it's certainly not normal. It's certainly something that has to do with other dimensions. And one of the things that I have to say that I have become very, 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 very keen to notice and to observe is that whenever there is something that I'm preparing for that is of great consequence, there tends to be a ratcheting up of difficulty. There seems to be an extraordinary amount of, some might say, warfare. And it is because we're affecting other dimensions and other planes. And so the consequence of what I'm going to do in a particular moment, let's just say recently when I was just in Washington, D.C. for this reparations rally, right, with our brother Tariq Nasheed and so many other wonderful, amazing speakers. What I understood is that where were we? We were in the place that they call our nation's capital, and de facto, the most powerful capital on the planet because of the power that the United States wields around the world. Yes. What people have gone in and out of that region, brother. Lobbyists, yes. World leaders, yes. Secret Service folks, yes. Military, yes. Can you imagine their counterparts in the spirit realm? Because they all have their counterparts. So if there's a premier that's here, if there's a king that's here, if there's a prime minister that's here, if there's a president that's here, please understand that in the ethers, there's a counterpart to that. And so they're working with the host, they're working with the team, they're working with an assembly that comes with them. So those energies were in that particular geographical location. And the stuff for which we were there to speak on had to do with us repping our lineage, a blood debt that the greatest nation on the planet owed to us. Yes. So if you can imagine this place of the Supreme Court, of the White House, of Congress, where laws, right, legislations, and judgments go down, and a whole lot of other unseen forces, right, that we can only imagine that's wielding power in that particular region. Being there, I understood that this wasn't just going to be some walk in the park. So I did some spiritual preparation in the spirit realm before I ever opened up my mouth. You understand?
Yes, yes.
So I'm bringing that up to say I can, without getting into the details about the joystick and the video games, because it's been so many years. I want to say maybe the Mario Brothers was the last time I think I played it. That's because I had some brothers that were back in the day in Mississippi that was into all of that. So I am way, way behind and not familiar with the current video games. But in terms of this notion of this recurring energy, this contrary energy, yes, it's emanating from other dimensions, because you've got to understand that because we want to see a level of evolution, because we want to bring a level of ma'at and harmony to this particular plane, there are other forces in other dimensions that have other interests, and they work with individuals here, beings that are here on this planet, to work against what we're trying to do, because that's what I mean. There are multiple dimensions that are at work. So I'm saying to you that, yes, I can see and certainly agree with the fact that there are other contrary energies and entities that we were very likely warring with in previous dimensions and lifetimes, quite frankly. And I think one of the ways that we can know that, of course, has everything to do with our constant spiritual alignment, but also pattern recognition. We recognize that this ain't normal, and then we begin to we begin to set rituals against it so that we're able to prevail, notwithstanding.
Indeed. So, and what the reason why I asked that also, I want to know, do you take things, because you know what's at place multidimensionally that you were just talking about, and because you know you have a certain contract, other people have certain contracts. I think one of the 4 agreements. Have you ever seen that book or read that book, The 4 Agreements?
Yes, I've definitely heard of it, but I haven't finished reading it. I'll be honest.
Yeah, one of the 4 agreements was don't take things personal. And you know, taking things personal could be a heavy emotionally draining. So I just want to know, what the approach that we're talking about, do you take things personal in this lifetime, at this point in your life? Do you take things personal if somebody attacks Vicki, if the government doesn't want to do this, doesn't want to give reparations, if this entity from another dimension is trying to sabotage your mission? Do you still take it personally, or do you understand it from a different perspective right now?
That's so good. It's always a temptation to take things personal.
Yeah.
Always that temptation, because obviously we have these avatars and we're dwelling in multiple planes. But that doesn't overrule. The more aligned you become spiritually, you start to develop like spiritual reflex.
Ooh, what's that? Ooh.
Where you automate yourself, because a part of the spiritual alignment and meditation is to keep you focused so that you don't become distracted from what's happening in the unseen realm and take things personal. You understand? So that's the whole point of that. So I don't when I say take things personal, there's an impact that it has on me in terms of naturally, but that's as far as it goes for me now. The overarching vision I always keep in mind is that this didn't come from here. And I always make sure and this is what I talk a lot about in to my students in my school, is that I make sure that I'm doing my tactical training and planning and strategic planning and training in my war room.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the texts that many of us grew up in. If you have any spiritual background in terms of Christianity, even if you're not a practicing Christian, most folks are familiar with that phrase that when you go into your prayer closet and shut the door behind you, it says, go into your prayer closet, shut the door behind you. And it says, the God that sees you in secret will reward you openly. It says, a God that is invisible, another translation, will reward you openly. That is the occult, that is the unseen, where we do our work. Go into your prayer closet, into your secret place, shut the door behind you, and the God that sees you in secret will reward you openly. There's a level of work that I do there first, because there's a tendency to immediately react in the natural, in the flesh, you understand? But that limits you, right? Because you're not dealing. Can I give you an analogy? Have you heard of this notion of air supremacy? This notion of not air supremacy, ground control and air control? This notion of air control, this ground control, is fascinating to me, because, you know, when we take off in a plane, the skies are controlled by what? An air traffic controller. It's dictated by that, yes? And there's often a tower that exists, which gives greater perspective in that tower, yes? So I bring that ground control and air control up because I want us to understand that though it seems like we're limited, just like the air traffic controller, he's controlling what's above his head from the ground.
Right, right.
It's the same way that before our astronauts take off into space, they have to launch from Earth. Ain't that something? And they have to be able to generate enough power and enough gas so there's enough thrust. Is that right? In order for them to pierce through the different spheres into outer space, but they have to launch from the ground. So there's some work that we do here. This goes to this notion of contract or agreements or connections or partnerships that we have with other dimensions. You can't even get out of space, baby, unless you start from the ground. You understand? And it's the same with the air traffic controller. You can prevent collisions in the air when you deal with that one that's controlling stuff from the ground, that's strategizing from the ground, that gives you perspective, and you take his instructions and dictations from the ground. So that's important to understand with this notion of soul contract. I'm a little bit off because I'm actually forgetting a part of the question that you asked, but I want to say, when you said that you wanted to talk about soul contracts, can I say this quickly? If we're talking about a soul contract and we're comparing it, for example, to contracts that we have in the earth, soul contracts aren't written just on regular paper. You mentioned a soul contract, which requires perhaps a different type of tablet. The ancients told us that when we meditate and when we memorize, we're actually writing on the tablets of our heart. And then one of the prophets told us that my tongue is like the pen of a ready writer. Did you hear what I said right there? That my tongue is like the pen of a ready writer. So when we're meditating, when we're decreeing, when we're making our petitions and our prayers, and when I say prayers, I'm not just talking about pleading aimlessly and uselessly. When I'm using the word prayer, I'm using the word prayer in the ancient, the old English word where we use it in the court setting. When you made your prayer to the court, you were making your what? Your request or petition to the court. Yes. So that's the context in which I'm using the word prayer, meaning that you are addressing a council, you're addressing a court. So I'm bringing that up simply to say that these contracts that some of us don't even know we entered into before we got in this plane, came to this earth realm, is often activated by what we're saying, what we're praying, what we're decreeing, these mantras that we're constantly repeating. And if we don't know this contract that perhaps we may have entered into, which I didn't initially, and if I could use myself as an example on how I came to know that these things existed, I've talked about this before, and I have to bring it up now. Your contract goes into full force when you enter the earth realm, when your mother goes into her contractions.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, the root word of contraction is what?
Ooh, contract.
Contract.
Woo.
And it's written in that blood when it breaches the veil from your mother's yoni. You understand?
Yeah.
So this signals to the unseen forces and realms, hey, this particular contract that we made is in full force now. It's official now.
Woo, talk to her, Vicki. Talk to her. Talk in the country.
This is
Talk
important. And that one is written in blood. You understand?
In blood. Damn.
And the codes. One of the things that we have to understand with this umbilical cord that we're connected to, yes, with our mothers, is that it's just not a physical thing. It's just not a physical cord, which we talk about our bloodline, yes, and our lineage. Root word of lineage is that line, yes. Mm. There's also a vibrational or a spiritual codes and information and data that comes with that. I was talking to the pillars the other day, and I was saying how when I was doing my ancestors webinar some years ago, and I was channeling some information about the umbilical cord, that's how they tell us to say that, right? The umbilical cord. Mm-hmm. As I was studying and researching and going down a very deep rabbit hole, Brother Rich, I was meditating so deep. I was coming across so many different terms. And then Spirit said to me, the umbilical cord. Mm. There's a scroll, there's a particular Bible, there's some codes that we come here with, and there's a reason I think that they intentionally wanted us to pronounce it as the umbilical cord instead of the umbilical cord, because we find out now that the scientists are actually extracting stem cells from the umbilical cord that they immediately cut. They are pulling stuff from the placenta after your woman has the baby, and they cut it and you're out of there, and they say, oh, this is hazardous stuff now. Yes, no. They're using those stem cells because those stem cells is like a blank cell that can turn into other types of cells, and that they're now saying is responsible for breakthroughs with cancers and all types of other treatments, you understand? Mm-hmm. So there's some codes, there's some data, there's some information that even naturally they're learning and extracting from the umbilical cord. And so just like there's a physical cord, you understand, there's a spiritual bloodline and cord that we come from that has information. And a lot of this for us is that intuition. Notice the word tuition in the word intuition. Notice the word tuition in the word intuition, the intuition being spiritual information without you having to use logic. Intuition, that's that inner teacher, that's that spiritual stenographer, that's that spiritual court reporter that was present during the previous proceedings before you came here. And this record, for the record, that the stenographer makes, that this court reporter, that's another name for a stenographer, yes, makes, right. Is already on the inside of us. Right. And some of us that were rejected from certain spiritual organizations, certain spiritual initiations, thank God, we were forced to go within. Some of us, we were forced through our rejection and isolation to hear that intuition, that tutor, that inner teacher that was present, that stenographer that was present in the proceedings that took place in the ethers before I came to the earth, that gives me inside knowledge and information where I know stuff that I don't know. And as I become more familiar with this record that already exists on the inside of me, I'm able to move in a particular way, you understand, on earth with this particular contract that I made. And for me, I know that that contract has everything to do with the work that I'm doing now on this earth, and also bringing in a new world. I know I said a whole lot right there, but anyway, please jump in with any questions.
No, I'm loving it. I feel as though now I don't know if you thought of that before, if you just downloaded that when you were talking about the umbilical cord, the biblical. Did you already?
The umbilical cord was a part of the downloads that I got during my ancestor webinar.
Okay, excellent.
But the stenographer and that part was not. That was today.
No, I love hearing your downloads. They are pure, and they are unfiltered, and it
Hmm.
just carries a certain chi to it. Like when you talk, you have these downloads and you're talking, like I could feel the energy in your downloads. Let me
I
ask you
say,
this, Vicky. Let me ask you this. Oh, and by the way, Vicky has a webinar with the pills. She mentioned the pills. You have a webinar with this Sunday.
yes, 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 yes. This Sunday, when in Rome, they have a regular webinar that they do, but I was
Yeah,
so pleased to have been invited to participate with this one. And so, of
indeed.
course, they're going to be breaking down very amazing insight about what they're talking about, Jason, which has to do with what? The months of July, August, September, October, November. Isn't that brilliant? Just
Oh
even
yeah.
that, Jason alone, and what's
Oh
to
yeah.
come, and giving strategy for that. So, we're going to be in the spiritual war room, and I have the high privilege of discussing the sibles and how the Catholic Church and other religions actually stole the Vatican and that sacerdotal seat from them. So I'll be speaking about them, the symbols, within the context of winning Rome. So it's gonna be good.
Fire. Yeah. That is this Sunday, family. If you want to uh sign up for that webinar, the link is, I just put it in the chat.
Oh,
The link
thank
is in the
you.
chat. I just put it in the chat. I know, and make sure y'all support that webinar if you can. I know Red and Blue, their channel has been targeted lately, so it's very
Mhm.
important that they get this webinar out, because obviously it can't be on this platform. So
Yeah,
shout out to Red and Blue for continuing to do the work with their approach and their information. Those two brothers are very good at researching, two good researchers, amazing researchers.
yes,
we all
sir.
we all have our gifts. They are amazing researchers. So shout out to Red and Blue, and make sure y'all sign up this Sunday to One in Rome. The link is in the chat.
I
um
say
Let me ask you this, Vicky.
yes,
Talking about soul contracts, and a
yes,
beautiful conversation so far. I'm absolutely loving this
yes.
conversation, and I knew I would. That's why I knew I had to talk to you about this. I want to ask you, um can you yearn for something that's not in your soul contract? And the reason why I ask that, because a lot of people feel as though they want things and they're not getting, they can't get it. So my thing is, can you even yearn for something that's in your soul contract, or the fact that you're yearning for it means that you have to have it, Vicky?
That's an excellent question, and I believe that some of the things that we long for is oftentimes clues to what's actually ours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes a symptom of the environment perhaps that we were in. You know, they talk about how sometimes when certain young children, for example, when they're abducted and they are with their abductors and their kidnappers for many years, that when their actual parents or when law enforcement or whomever actually locates them after many years, they actually don't want to leave.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah.
They actually quote unquote long for or want to stay with the one that actually violated them. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that has to do with that particular environment. But it's possible to be placed in a new environment
Mm-hmm.
to where you awaken to the reality of who you are,
Mm-hmm.
so that you're able to long for and in fact magnetize that which is really your birthright. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, yes, you certainly can long for something that's not necessarily good or particular to your unique purpose and destiny. But also, for the most part, I believe that when we are aligned, and even when we're not exactly aligned, like we desire to be, a lot of the stuff that moves us, the impulses that we often have, tend to still be a clue to our purpose. Even the things that upset me, that angered me, was actually a clue to my destiny,
Mm-hmm.
because that meant that I perhaps had a solution, you understand, to that
Mm-hmm.
thing that angered me. That meant that that was something that I was supposed to actually deal with. And so when something angers you or something upsets you, that's not necessarily something that you should immediately shun. It's
Mm-hmm.
often, it absolutely in every situation has everything to do with your spiritual alignment and you getting in that spiritual lab, um, and with fits and starts. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, 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 and I brought that up in terms of the spiritual lab, because when you're in the lab, there are a lot of smart people that have their coats on in labs and their beakers and the whole setup.
Mm-hmm.
But because they have a lot of head knowledge, they're there to actually figure some stuff out. Yes, they're actually there to experiment. And so that's the only way we become adept and masters of our contracts and our unique destinies, is once we get in that lab and we begin to work that thing. That's really the type of labor. In fact, that word labor is in the word laboratory. That's one of the ways that we become really good at who we're called to be, is that this thing has to be tested. You have to work your magic. You have to apply it day to day in order to become better at it. So I hope that kind of answered to a degree your question. And I want to say this sort of in alignment to that. If I could just use this, I'm a girl, right? I'm a woman, so I like to embody the knowledge and give examples. Even though I certainly am one to study, I'm big on that. But more than that, I live out the things that I teach. So one of the things I shared with you before, Brother Rich, I don't know if you remember this, is when I told you that when I was in a deep, deep meditation, and this was over a long period of time, that there were messengers that showed up in my prayer room. And most times when they show up, they don't have wings, but these had wings. But they were standing there wing to wing. They filled my room like they were in a club. And so every wall in my room was filled from wing to wing. I was decreeing. I won't say exactly what I was decreeing, but it had to do with the world. And as I was decreeing, they appeared and they were there wing to wing, but they were taking notes. They were writing down what I was saying as dictations on legal pads. Do you remember me sharing that before? I brought that up because this was not that time that I went into a trance where I ascended and I was actually a part of an assembly in the ethers, to where the divine was sitting on the throne and he moved out the officials and said, "I think I hear Vicki calling." He literally moved them out the way. I was in a trance. I wasn't asleep. It was wide open. This was actually, they came down and were taking notes to fulfill what I was decreeing. Do you understand?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a type of contract. That's something that I was affecting in another dimension. And also because I was affecting things and praying concerning things in other states and other parts of the world, guess what that involved? Other guardians that have to do with those geographical locations and spiritual locations.
Right.
That required a different type of contract, different type of alliances, you understand, from another dimension. Now, let me say this. I had the right to command because, number one, this contract that I'm fulfilling on earth initiated in the ethers. And one of the things that I learned on earth is that it matters where a contract is initiated. Do you know that? It matters what state and what country a contract is initiated in, because that determines the jurisdiction and the particular rules and regulations that governs it. So because my contract came from a dimension beyond earth, I get to not only fulfill what it is that I came into contract with these particular entities, I also get to call on help from another dimension to assist me in this realm. Watch this. But over time, y'all ain't ready for this part. This is what got me in a lot of trouble. And I knew I was bad because some of the energies I was dealing with over the past years, it had to do with what? Local authorities, state authorities, federal authorities. Are you hearing me? Wall Street entities, high-level officials that even make no sense. You understand? For someone of my status at that particular time, but that was spiritual. Do you understand? And it wasn't just that. What I started to do over time is not long to see some angel or some other spirit. I grew in such, I'm going to say, power and confidence, even when it appeared that I was losing everything and under extraordinary warfare. I started reading the contract and enforcing certain parts and making requests to amend certain parts of the contract. You only get to that point when you start engaging spirit over time. And the way we read our particular contracts is through our meditation. It's through our spiritual engagement. That's the only way that you can know the stuff that you don't know. And I think some folks even talk about and I don't pretend to be an expert on this, but this is the best way I can explain it, because when I was saying that I know stuff that I don't know and I was moving this way over years, I didn't know 20-something years ago, 30-something years ago, that there was a such thing as an Akashic record. You feel me? I didn't know that there was this energetic library that existed out there, you understand, somewhere, that had a whole lot of data and knowledge and intel that I could tap into. I didn't know that, but this is in essence what I was operating in. And so I just wanted to throw that out there to let you know that this is how you become more familiar with your particular contract, through the law of observation. And even scientifically, they tell us that the law of observation is just when you observe something long enough, it changes the behavior of a thing. Ain't that something? When you focus or give attention, because attention is not nothing, it's actually energy, yes? But when you give a certain level of attention to something, it actually changes the behavior of a thing. So that's the reason why we become very stingy with our time. When we talk about the time that we spiritually align, we don't play and allow distractions. We don't mind folks calling us rude. You understand? Because I know that you can't break my focus, because I'm trying to affect something here. And the only way that I can do that is with my what? Undivided attention. I'm affecting something that I can't see. And I know this particular thing is working. So over time is when I understood, dear brother, that I was affecting another dimension and another realm. And then when I was going through the greatest trial of my life, which took some years, having lost my property, my businesses, I was going through a divorce at the time. There was some deaths in my family, and I was coming out of civil litigation and then facing criminal trial. And so these messengers started to form. These messengers started to come to me. And one that came to me actually said that he came to give me a code. He left. I won't say here on the platform what happened, because I keep this talk in certain types of environments, because I don't know if you know this or not, but you know you're powerful enough to know that there are different energies that's watching you. You know that, right? Oh yeah. And so you know there's only certain things we say at certain times in certain places, right? Watch this. After this particular supernatural occurrence took place, brother, this messenger that came to me told me that he came to give me a code, but he left and didn't give me the code, Brother Rich. And you know that in law, we use the word code, right? We even call certain things a codex, and certain things, that's even a legal term. I was so distressed because it was such a real experience for me, this being that came to me, but he didn't give me this particular code. I called the closest person at the time to me that was still living in Mississippi as a spiritual mentor to me, and said, explain to him what took place. And you know what he told me? He didn't know what to do except to tell me, keep praying for the code. Well, I did that. And over some days, perhaps even weeks, guess what happened, Brother Rich? What? I was getting ready to return a DVD that I got from the library that was based on a true story. I won't say what it is because people will know what it is. I was going to return it without watching it. And the Spirit said to me to watch it. Well, in this particular movie based on a true story, there was a literal 3-letter code that was in the movie. Less than 24 hours later, that was on the Saturday night, right? The next day was Sunday. And across the street from my house was a red Cherokee truck. And it was a sister that I knew. She was a spiritual lady. She didn't call me, Brother Rich. She didn't text me. She didn't give me any notice. And she apologized for showing up to my home unannounced. Guess what she did, brother? What? She said that she wanted to share with me a dream that she had. Messengers came to her in the dream for me. She listed 2 of the law firms that I was in court with at the time by name. She told me about a peephole in the package that they gave her in the dream. And she said when she pushed the peephole back, the 3 numerical codes was the exact code that was in the movie the night before. Whoa. These were contractual energies and entities that were working using other individuals, you understand, in movies to let me know how we was using it. And I use that code for other things in my life, which I won't talk about right now. But that would not have happened, is what I'm trying to tell you, if I didn't activate the law of observation through my prayer time. I was reading a contract, activating a contract that I didn't even realize that I was in. And the other parties to said contract, you understand, were responding to me. And they assisted me in my life, not only with miracles, not only with breakthroughs, watch this, and not only through difficulty, but I was also able to make certain requests and also receive certain benefits, watch this, and certain protections based on those contracts.
Mm, mm, mm. Wow, amazing. Amazing, Vicki. I want to take a couple of questions from the family. I'm not going to keep y'all. I'm not going to keep Vicki for too long tonight, but I do want to get they love this in the chat. I was just looking at the chat. They absolutely love this. This is every time you come here, Vicki, you do an absolutely magnificent job. I know you're going to do your thing on Sunday with
Thank
red
you.
and blue. So yeah,
I'm
shout
looking forward
out
to
to
it.
y'all indeed.
Thank
But give me
you.
some shout out to everybody watching. Give me some questions for Vicki Dillard before we get out of here tonight, family. Give me some questions. Let me see. And shout out to Kellen Sandifer for the super chat. Vic, you got a Cash App? Do you have a Cash App?
Yes, sir, I do.
What's your
It's
Cash App?
$ OPW.
Wait,
That stands for
hold of it.
yes.
$ Say it again.
OPW
Uh-huh.
VICKI.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's it. The OPW stands for On Purpose with Vicki. So
Gotcha.
OPW Vicki. Thank you so much.
No problem, no problem. So I shared the sister. I mean, to get a message like this tonight is definitely something that you got to appreciate. If you would like to show some love and show some energy to the sister, you can send a donation to Cash App, $OPWVICKI.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
family. Yeah, sorcery. Yeah, this is y'all see the hat. Y'all see the hat. Y'all
Oh,
see the hat. Sorcery in full effect tonight.
wow. I love that. Thank you.
So all right, so let's get to this question here. And I've seen people talking about this on the internet about this topic. What happens if you break a contract? Is that even possible? Talk to
Yeah.
me about that, Vicki.
Actually, yes, it is possible. The reason why I say it's possible is because some of us don't understand our own divinity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons I gave the example of not only was I able to attend some of the spiritual assemblies and councils in the ethers, I said they came down. You understand? So there's a level of authority and power that we also have, but because we're trapped in these avatars, we think that somehow that these other energies and entities or beings are all greater than us. And of course, there is a hierarchy. Don't get me wrong, but let's not get it twisted, our own divinity. So in terms of breaking a contract, it absolutely is possible that one could break a contract. I think some folks like to call parts of that a karma in our world, when there are certain things and there are certain agreements, unfortunately, that pass down to even our children. And there are contracts that sometimes folks are actually in, right? That they don't even know that they're connected to. But again, through pattern recognition, and to be honest, going to trusted spiritual practitioners in our own spiritual life can give us a bit of insight in terms of whether or not that's taking place. But yes, to answer your questions, yes. Now, for me, I'm going to be honest with you. I gave the spirit realm the middle finger. When you are, because before I was found guilty in federal court in an unjust case, my messengers came to me and told me that I would be dealing with the legal proceeding. They told me what would involve and who would be involved in. They just didn't tell me I was going to be found guilty. Oh, Brother Rich, I had this information, I'm a journalist, so I certainly had it. It can prove in no limit of time some of the knowledge I had before the actual trial. That being black boxed and shackled and bussed and flown between multiple states to federal prison in Texas and looking at 20 years and giving 5 and fighting your case with the hope that you will win the appeal, that, I was kind of just a little bit of Brother Rich is everybody and everything. And that's how I operated. That's how I moved. And then even when I was in the transfer centers and the other jails and prisons, before I ended up being in the ultimate location that I would serve the rest of my time in, so many supernatural things were happening to where folks were spontaneously, strangers that saw me for the first time would begin to prophesy, Brother Rich. And they would put a demand on me even when I was in the belly of the beast and there did miracles. And I was refusing to engage with them because I was like, get me the hell out of here. You understand?
Yeah.
But there was even a work that I was doing there because I couldn't believe that this was a part of the contract.
Right.
I couldn't believe that was a part of my destiny.
Dang.
But I continued to persevere, Brother Rich. I continued to move forward with it. Miracles and wonders ended up happening. And here we are today. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, definitely. Very interesting. You tell some interesting stories, Vicki. I tell you, you got some interesting stories.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
Okay, so this is a good one. People often want to know, how would one know what is their contract? They're like, what the hell is my purpose dying? What's my contract? How would they know that?
That's such a good question. I answered that earlier. Because we're multidimensional beings, there's going to be a level of unknown that we have. And I'm going to just use this as a simple principle. I like to use this often. This is a revelation I'm using a movie for this, okay? How one knows what is their contract. The Jason Bourne principle. What do I mean by that? If you saw the first movie, Jason Bourne, in the movie, for those that may not be familiar, Jason Bourne is about, it's based on the story of a U.S. assassin, right? So this U.S. assassin is supposed to be on a hit, right? And he was going to take out his particular target, which was an African official on a boat. He's the one that came up with the whole thing, whatever. But that ended up being foiled, that particular hit, right? And the person that he went to take out actually turned around and shot him. And he ended up floating in an ocean somewhere, right? So he was really supposed to be dead, but some fishermen found him, saved his life. But when he came to, he had amnesia, Brother Rich. He didn't know his own name. He didn't know who he was. So once he got off the boat and the fisherman gave him a few dollars to send him on his way without him knowing who the hell he was, watch this. As he sought and searched, somebody say, know myself, know thyself. As he began to search, as he began to meditate, as he began to engage the spirit realm, right? Because that's the only way you're going to find out. Bit by bit, he started putting pieces together, right? To find out who he was, but he had to go hunt and search. Watch this. As he was on a hunt and a search for who he was, Brother Rich, he found himself in some other inauspicious circumstances, right? But while he was moving along to figure out who he was, Brother Rich, he realized that he knew other languages. He ended up finding out that he had multiple passports and resources that he didn't know why he had access to these things. Watch this. He was being threatened and could have lost his life, but he was able to fight, and he didn't know how he had all of these abilities and aptitudes. Where did this come from? Who am I? All of this assisted him on his search. Watch this. And him having amnesia, not knowing who he was. All I'm trying to say to you, ask, and it is given. Seek, you shall find. Knock, and the door shall be open. There is no other way. And that is the best way to learn about your contracts, by following everything that I said from the beginning of this broadcast and actually living this thing out. That way you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that is the only way you become victorious. And that is the only way you live a supernatural and miraculous life and fulfill that contract. That is the only way you engage your spiritual team. That's the only way. Jason Bourne.
Indeed. And Vicky, just for me personally, I remember when I was and this sister, this question is a question a lot of people have.
Yes, it
And
is.
I remember when I must have been about 18 or 19 years old, and I started watching videos, and I'm listening to brothers like Bobby Hemmett and other people. And in my mind, I just said one day, I said, I think I could be good at asking questions.
Mm,
I picked up a notebook. I had a notebook at home, and I was like, let me think of some questions to ask. There was no internet. This was just a VCR tapes back then. And I
mm,
started writing questions. I'm like, damn, I might be good at this. So I
mm,
decided to start, right? I started filming years later, probably when I was about 23 or something like that. I started filming and asking questions, and things was going great. And I was like, yeah, I like this. And I remember my mother passed away when I was about 24. My mother
mm,
passed away, and it was
mm,
like a rough. And I remember I was doing Blog Talk Radio at that time, and I stopped doing my show. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was like one of the first people on Blog Talk Radio. Blog
um,
Talk was booming, and I just stopped doing my show. I didn't want to do it anymore. And I remember just being a street vendor in New York City, and so many people will come. I mean, so many people, overwhelming amount of people. And I want to thank y'all will come up to me and say, Vicky, yo, when you gonna get back on the radio? When you gonna do a show? Yo, I love your
mm,
questions. And so many people said, I said, damn, they like me like that. In my mind,
mm.
I was like, I knew my show was good, but I didn't
Mm.
know the level of how much. And
Yeah.
so many people, yo, Rich, yo, you so good at it. And I'm like, damn, I think I was right all along. Maybe I should get back to asking questions and doing this. So I remember I had a grand plan, and I made a return because I left Blog Talk, and I made a return to YouTube. And
Mm.
that's when I had started a show with Professor Griff, Zaza Ali. I had a show with Dick Gregory, and I had a couple of other
Mhm.
shows on YouTube. And
Wow.
it's just been booming since then. But I think saying that to say I had in my intuition told me that that this might be something that I'm
Y-
good at. And then
Your what?
the world confirmed it. The people kept telling me, and I was like, damn, I think I was right.
But
So
what?
yeah,
But say it again. Your what told you?
intuition. You talked about that. Intuition.
This is so. To my dear sister Shay Shay, you're following the clues. You're
Mm,
following those subtle nudges. You understand? And again, this goes back to the lab. You have to act on the subtleties. You have to act on. I think what you say. I think I could be good at that. You understand what I'm saying? It's the
yeah, sure.
subtle, the almost, and this is one of the things that I teach my students. It is the biggest shifts, and there was some sort of quote, but I'm going to say it Vicky's way. Um, the biggest shifts that I ever experienced in my own life came in very small packages. It was the subtleties. You understand?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
greatest shifts is when you cooperate with those particular clues. Look at it that way and act on each clue. It opens up the next step and the
Mm-hmm.
next step and
The
the next
next
step.
step.
This answer that we're given, because we're multidimensional beings and we're actually trying to embody this life in the contract,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be just an explicit thing because you're living it out. Follow the clues, act on it. You got it, breadcrumbs and clues.
Uh,
Yes,
yep.
absolutely,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And like a detective, right? Look at all the stuff that the detective has to piece together just based on what? A piece of hair.
Mm-hmm.
But he uses that hair to what? Figure out the DNA of somebody later, right? Then you turn around and say, wait a minute. You start looking around and say, wonder if there was any witnesses around here. So you start to knock on the door of the
Oh,
apartment next to the one that
oh
you,
yeah.
right?
Oh
No,
yeah.
nobody's over there, so and so, and then you walk out and somebody's coming upstairs and say, well, so and so moved out about 2 weeks ago, so I don't know. So then you follow that clue, yes?
There you go, sis. Oh, this is beautiful,
And
y'all.
so
This is
from
beautiful.
there, then you turn around and you say, well, so and so said this don't even make no sense. And then she said it was this, and the time to reconcile with that. You following that, and then you begin to put the pieces together. And can I tell you something? This is the best way to manifest your contract and to manifest destiny. You know why? Bro, can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't
Mm,
nobody tell me nothing because the universe is my university. It's my teacher. And as you begin to follow the clues, and what did we say? That intuition, that internal stenographer, that court reporter that was present in the ethers when the proceeding took place
mm,
before your contract, that's already in you. But you
mm,
have to go within, and the only way you go within is you activate that through what? Meditation. And when you give something an attention, when you observe, right? Yourself, what happens? you're ultimately affecting the behavior of something. You're going to activate something. Something will begin to happen. You understand?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then that's where that courage comes from. That's where that confidence comes from. And that's when you, like the sun, because of your own letting your light shine and the energy and the blessing that you bring to the earth, the sun is also the thing that the other planets what? Revolve around.
Mm-hmm.
Other planets begin to move and things begin to shift because what? You've upgraded. So that's where it starts. That's the beauty of it.
Beautiful, y'all. What a beautiful conversation. Let me now, another concern with a lot of people, and I noticed this with this isn't a question, this is a comment. And I
Okay.
noticed this, Vicki, just being on the internet, being on Instagram, being on YouTube, reading the comments. I said, wow, Vicki, I said, a lot of people do not like life. They don't like the way things are structured in this world. They don't like the way the government does things. They don't like the way people do things. They just don't like this world. They're not fond of this world at all. So this person said, WTH, I know what that means.
Yes.
What the F was I thinking to come here? It just makes you want to take yourself out. It's just hopeless. So the question I want to ask you, Vicki, because a lot of people feel like this, do you think a person would say they would hear this show, Vicki, and I see somebody write this earlier. They said, "No way I signed up for this shit. I don't believe what this woman is saying. No way I signed up for this shit." Do you
Yes.
think some people were forced to come here because of whatever something they had done, or do you think everybody knew what they got into coming here? They accepted it and they just forgot Jason Bourne and they just got to deal with it. And once they leave this realm, they're gonna remember again. Oh yeah, that's why I decided to come here. Which one do you think it is?
So Jason Bourne, when he realized who he was and found out that he was an assassin,
Yeah.
that he was a tool for the United States government to take the lives, to unalive human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like that so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was he going to do? Because he found out that the government had spent millions of dollars on him alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's how extraordinarily valuable he was to their particular agenda. So what did he do when he was put in a situation that he didn't want to be in? He had gained resources, aptitudes, access, languages.
Mm-hmm.
There were still useful skills and stuff that he could use, right? He turned around and became what? The greatest thorn in the side of the government when he realized who he was and how he was being used.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came to himself, I'm going to say this, and what is his name? I'm Osiris. I don't know if that's what he's saying. I'm Osiris. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not. I am. I want to say this to you. The greatest moment of my life is when I wanted it all to end.
Wow.
Because I was being broken down. I was being buried alive, bro.
Shit.
When I was locked up in because I was in different states, and it took me several months before I ended up making to the women's federal prison. I was having a psychological thing in one of the prisons because they put me in such a tiny metal place by myself, and it was kind of dark in this particular prison. It was tiny. I was there by myself, and I didn't know nothing about the world that was putting me in, and I was from place to place to place, and they strip me at every turn. They turn around and look up my anus. They look through my female parts. I'm still tripping because I can't believe this. I'm trying to get a hold of my attorney, but I can't even do this at that particular time. Everything is moving all at the same time. And so I was having so many emotions. And then people that were next to me, it was silence. And I did this, Brother Rich. How can I say thanks? At the top of my lungs, I started singing. For the things, nothing in me said sing, and nothing in me felt like it. You have done for me. I lifted my voice and I started to shake everything around me. Things so undeserved. And I started to sing so loud. And then over time, I started to settle my mind. And these energies of get me the blank out of here. I want to die. I want to kill myself. I want to, all these crazy things that weren't even me. Those weren't even my thoughts. And then when I made it to one of the other prisons and I was around some of the other inmates, a white chick said, I heard you singing in one of the so-and-so back over there. And then I was walking around inside because one of the facilities, they wouldn't let us out. And it was a storm, a tornado. And I started praying in tongues. And this chick later on told me that she had prayed for a mentor because she was given a long time. And she was looking at me through a peephole. And she said, Spirit told her that's her. And I mentored her for a couple of years until she moved to another prison over time. I didn't want to deal with her. She was telling me what an attitude I had. Get me the hell out of here. Let me tell you something. The moment when it all goes away, the moment you're broken down to absolutely nothing. You know what they say, from the womb to the tomb, and there's a reason why that rhymes, right? There's a reason why it seems like it's almost the same word, because it's both a type of cave, really. But in this particular tomb, I was being regenerated. In that particular tomb, I was being resurrected. In that particular circumstance and situation, even when I was trying to figure out the energies and what would become of me. And what about love, right? What about marriage? What about babies? You feel me? I was thinking about all of this. And how old will I be when I get out of here? And what about the prophecy of what I was supposed to do on the planet? And this is happening. This can't be a part of the plan. And so, like a tidal wave that seems like it's going to make me drown, what do surfers do? That's all I'm going to say to answer this question. What does a surfer do to this high wave that the average person runs from and avoids because we think it's going to take us out? What does a surfer do? They actually ride the wave.
Damn, Vicki. The fuck?
They start to cooperate with the thing that looks like it's about. They surrender to it. They give themselves to it. And when you do that,
yo, I got goosebumps, y'all. I gotta back up from the screen. This sister here, you son, Vicki. Go ahead, you son.
Give yourself to the thing that's threatening to take you out, even when you're shaking, even when you're fearful, even when everything you say says F this, and I don't even cuss. When everything in you screams against it, and just that little tiny, just a small, tiny bit, I think they call it a mustard seed. The prayer that they said Jesus had for Peter was not a powerful prayer at all. You know what he said?
Wow.
After Peter was wanting to take himself out because he realized that he too betrayed him like Judas. We forget that part of the Sunday school story. Guess what he said? His only prayer for him was, I just pray that your faith don't fail you. But they say that if I just have a little mustard seed, all I did was just go with that little bit. And everything in me said F this, everything in me was blank this, and all of that in me, I allowed it to be. And so I allowed this wave, I started to just surrender to it. And it took me where it will. And here we are. So you're in the greatest moment of your life if you feel that this ain't it. And if you're saying, now, hell no, I didn't sign up for this. I feel you. Now surrender to that wave just a little bit. While you cussing everything and everybody out, while you saying F all this, while you saying give up, just that little small little kind of little, and you don't even call it nothing. With your nose turned up and all that. Surrender to that wave. And I can promise you, but man, you're going to surf this thing and you're going to find yourself the real magician. You're going to find yourself to be the real alchemist. And you're going to find yourself to have been under a contract that was more glorious than you could have ever imagined. And not only will you change your world, you will change the world. That is my promise to you.
Yo, I see Red in the chat. How much time y'all giving Vicki on Sunday, y'all?
That's him. That's all my brothers.
How much time y'all giving Vicki on Red? Make sure you give this queen enough time, because when she go off, I ain't never heard it put like Vicki said, go surfing. When that wave seems like it's about to drown, you don't run. It's time to go surfing. Get your surfboard and you got to get on that wave, and you be like, y'all, that's ill. Now
Yes.
you won with that one. You won with that one. You won
Mm-hmm.
with that one. Shout out to y'all. Oh man, that was beautiful. Let's yeah, let me share that link one more time for y'all. For this Sunday. Vicki gonna be in the building this Sunday. No, not that one. Where's yes in the chat.
I'm so excited about Sunday, Brother Rich, with everything that's going on in the world. And when you see what's happening politically, when you see spiritually, economically, of course we know about white supremacy. We know about oppression in all of its different forms, right? We know about the cry for reparations and the injustice of the 500-year Black Holocaust. Yes, we know about what's happening in Sudan and the Sahel, right? We know what's happening with the Palestinian people and them folks, right? We know what's all of this, what's happening with BRICS. We understand what's happening with the US dollar. We understand what's happening on so many different levels, right? And then we find out that our mothers were the originators of this sacerdotal seat that literally impacted and ruled the world. Not only their villages, which they loved and kept as their priority, but the world came to them for guidance. And those mothers tapped into the spirit realm, Brother Rich. They were taken over the sibles. In this book, it talks about it with trances. They would go into fits and they would tap in. The ancestors would tell them what to tell that village, what to tell that nation to make propitiation, what offerings to give for the ancestors, what to do in order to bring Ma'at and to bring about peace. And when they called different eras the golden age, they said it was the golden age, and civilization reached its height in every sphere under their leadership. And to know that this thing was usurped by the Catholic Church and so many other religions, and to know that that was originally ours, and to know that the condition of the world today, perhaps, Brother Rich, the codes we can activate that's already on the inside of us, and then we can begin to rule the world once again. But the secret to our ruling the world is our spiritual fitness. It's our royal bloodline, and we can tap back into that and retake our seat. That's what Sunday is about. That yes, we that are considered to be nobodies, the least of these, the deaf, the dumb, and the blind, to know this whole time, this whole wide world was always meant for us. But we just forgot. We just had temporary amnesia, right? But we're going to come to know who we are. That's what this is about.
And Vicki, like you said, what's 6,000 years to the Alpha and Omega?
What is it? What is
6,000 years to the Alpha? It ain't, it's like the Alpha and Omega, 6,000 years. All right, I slipped up for 6,000, but I'll be back for another 8 billion. How y'all like that? How y'all like that?
Come on now. What is it?
Vic. Oh, by the way, just to let y'all know, I'm talking to Vicki behind the scenes. I'm trying to get her to talking to sister about coming out to the gathering of the masters.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'm gonna call her tomorrow, and we're gonna have I'm gonna have some new information on that. And the live stream will be available probably tomorrow or Saturday. But I'm gonna talk to Vicki about that. I got an idea too. I got an idea that I want to run by you.
Do you know this is why I rock with you? Because you spiritual. This is how he is, y'all. Spontaneous. He don't
all the time, all day, every year.
You know notice. He don't ask me, well, do you know about Rich just he gonna put the demand, show up, move by the spirit. But look at the magic you do.
Oh yeah.
Look at the magic you do, bro.
I'm so
proud of you, Brother Rich. I know I tell you that every time, but every time I start the show, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I am so proud of this brother, and I'm glad I know him.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. And that's one of the reasons, we're talking about the workshop you're doing, Red and Blue. I'm real spontaneous, and I'm just like on a, I just come up with something, and I like call people like, yo, Red and I work real well with Red and Blue. Like I call them, and they're used to it. They're used to how my style and how I work. So I work real well with those brothers. So that's how I know. That's how I know it's gonna be dope on Sunday. Yeah. And but I'm gonna keep y'all updated on that. Like I said, I got an idea. Dr. B actually, he is opening up. He has this huge musical ceremony that he's doing for the men. When the men are speaking on Sunday, the sisters are speaking on Saturday. But Dr. B, he's a musician, so he's doing this huge musical ceremony on Sunday.
gosh.
And I just want to talk. I got an idea, and I want to run it by you tomorrow.
Yes,
Maybe
sir.
something we could do on Saturday. So I'm running by you tomorrow though. But before we get out here, Vicki, I want to ask you this one last question.
Yes, sir.
Just
Yes,
hearing you
sir.
talk, and like I said, your energy, one of the most powerful voices I feel on the planet at this time. And when I
Yes, sir.
say powerful, I mean the chi that emanates off of you. The
I
chi. It's
tell
like,
you.
you
Oof.
know, it's powerful. And
Thank you,
I want to
King.
ask you, do you think you talk about in the interviews that I have done with you, you're always bringing up your experience with prison, and I know it has impacted you a lot in this life.
Yes.
Do
Yes.
you think you would be who you are without going to prison? Do we get the Vicki Dillard we have today without you going to prison? What would your answer to that be?
This is very, very interesting. The prison experience, brother, um, was an initiation of sorts.
Mm,
Um, I was already going into prisons teaching for years. My
mm,
program called Jailhouse Rock Academy was approved by the state of Colorado. I was going into women's
mm,
prisons and teaching.
mm,
And something happened to me when I went during one of the, I had to drive way out of town, took hours to get there to this particular one. And something supernatural happened where something played out while I was teaching some of
mm.
the women. And this man, Brother Rich, has real talent. And yes, he does. I never thought asking questions could be a talent. Man, please. That's one of the greatest of all time. That's powerful because it's extracting something, and he's actually pulling energy and alchemizing when he asks those questions. So anyway, no, I'll say no, I don't. It's absolutely an intricate part because it was a type of tune for me. It was where I did some of my greatest magic. I raised dad in prison. Some of my prayers got people out of prison years in advance, and then I ship shape not just the inmates, Brother Rich, staffers. Stuff happened with different courts, and even when it looked like I was losing, some of the very law firms and people that had everything to do with me there. Do you know that behind when I was out, some of them came under investigation with the state's attorney general. Some of them end up shutting down. Some of them end up having to pay millions of dollars. And one of the greatest law firms that came against me also ended up having one of the very top attorneys being a whistleblower against them, and it played out in the newspapers. And I was being sent the newspapers of what was taking place. So even when it looked like I was losing, my court was whipping behind even when I was in the belly of the beast. So no, I got a chance to actually manifest destiny in a way, and to know who I was. That was an extraordinary test. Are you really that without the trappings, without this outside stuff, without the money, without the resources, without the businesses, without any of that kind of stuff? Are you still that? And I'm really that. I'm really that. The magic worked with Dickies and twisted my hair in the belly of the beast 20 years initially before the 5. I'm really that girl, and it really works. And they say that you can bust through the tomb, and they say they say about resurrection, and that's it. So no, I don't. There's an inside knowledge that I gained from being on the inside, that I don't think that I would have otherwise gotten. And can I say this to you? Because of the enemies and some of the work I was doing on the outside, even in the civil sphere, I'll say this, because there are different people and different threats. Sometimes those situations can be a type of protection too. And I'll just leave it at that for now. We can talk more about that later offline, but I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay. And real quick, I forgot a super chat question. Shout out to Sending Infinite Goddess. One last question before we get out of here, Vicki. Thank you for confirming and clearing so much on this topic. What are your thoughts on completing your contract and creating new agreements?
I
Last
love this.
question, then we get out of here. Yeah.
Yes. What are your thoughts on completing your contract? This is so good. My thoughts on completing your contract and creating new agreements is absolutely what I do through declaration, which is a big part of my gavel, because I'm constantly.
You ain't hit it tonight. You ain't hit it. Oh man, you had it. Oh man,
that's for you, Rick. That's for you.
Right.
So this is absolutely an intricate part of what I'm activating. Also, beloved, certain parts of journaling also have to do with certain spiritual things. But this is a topic, Brother Rich, that I honestly can't answer outside of And I'm not trying to do a shameless plug, I promise you, but honest to goodness, it really is a topic that I can get into more through my school. The Vicki Dillard Mystery School is my monthly mastermind school. That's where you get that type of information from. But to answer your questions, absolutely, it's possible. And sis, if you want to connect with me after the fact at VickiPlanet.com, that's where you can reach us on my website. You can find out information about it. It ain't but a couple less than take a gas type situation. So it won't be anything crazy at all. And plus I have other products that can give you insight into some of my special webinars. But that's really where you want to get that type of information from.
Excellent. Hey, I want to thank you once again, Vicki. Thank you for everybody for tuning in tonight. Leave all the contact information that you need to lead the people so they can. I know a lot of people are going to want to reach out to you. So leave all the information you can for the family, Vicki.
Yes, well, the best way, two things I would say. First of all, if anybody is, of course, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing you on Sunday with my brothers, the Pillars. The link is there. Thank you so much, Brother Rich, for doing that, supporting us with that. But other than that, my school, I started my new spiritual school. I've been doing them for many years now, but my school that I've restarted called the Vicki Dillard Mystery School. The website, you got it right there. I'll post it already, Brother Rich, VickiPlanet.com. So all you need to do is go there and you can find out exactly how you can enroll and become a member. Very, very reasonable cost. There's all types of yummy products, spiritual products and services. I've got my album. I'm still, I've been doing that for a few years, but there were some uncommon delays, but we're going to make that happen. There were some health things and some other invisible stuff that was going on, but that's coming to pass. I've got some other spiritual books that are coming out. But what I do right now, where I have a community, you have greater access to me there, and some of my powerful monthly teachings and all kinds of other yummy benefits at VickiPlanet.com. That's the biggest thing I'm doing now. And of course, if you want to support me now on my own platform for social commentary, you can subscribe to VickiDillard.tv. That's VickiDillard.tv right here on YouTube. I'm finally utilizing it more now. I got content. I'm still a part of another network and got my stuff seeded out on some other places. But those are the two things I would say. So connect with me on my website, Vicki Planet. If you want to know any other thing about me, that's really where you go to find out that. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to see that message. And thank you for this soul contract. I want to say this very quickly, Brother Rich. I hope you understand that when you get topics like this, when you told me this is it, Vicki, today, I hope you understand there's something that's opening up for you when you do that. There's a reality that you're causing to form in terms of a new contract for you. Some new experiences and some new things that you are going to be manifesting and bringing some new things to pass. And I'm hearing that you need to be getting some of your terms and conditions together on what you want in the contract. And I'm talking about for your unique purpose and destiny. And I'm hearing that it's supposed to be big, that your requests and what you're supposed to be making demands for are big. So I hope you understand that when we talk about subjects, you're making stuff form. You know that, right? So that when you start bringing this out, you know that we're affecting the satellites, the ethers, we're affecting multiple planes. And so I'm putting that, and if I could just do this for you on that. Please. Love it. This is a force amplifier. The gavel is literally a type of hammer. It's a type of mallet. And isn't it interesting that the gavel is not only used in courts, right? It's not only used with our lawmakers and legislators, but if this is a type of hammer, when we're talking about construction hammers do what? They build, they create, right? They bring things into existence. So something just happened right there, for real, when I hit that. And so I can't wait to hear about what you're going to have going on in the upcoming months and years.
Indeed. Yeah. Thanks for that advice right there. I definitely, I'm going to take that advice serious. And anytime you got some advice, you can just text me,
Okay. All right.
You are tapped in, so I know you be getting them down. All right, family. I'm going to have, like I said, Vicki, I'm going to hit you up tomorrow just to talk about the conference, the Gathering of the Masters. And definitely want to get the sister out there. And family, I will have the live stream tickets available probably tomorrow. I got to call 19 Keys. 19 Keys. Matter of fact, you did a show with 19 Keys that was off the hook.
I sure did. I'm telling you what you seeded with that what you that broadcast. I'm telling you, it was absolutely powerful. So to have another platform to share that on, it was absolutely amazing. And then when you're talking about certain subjects in a different type of field, you know what I mean, a different type of platform and environment that's not, you know, your normal type. Is interesting, the feedback. And I'm telling you, Brother Rich, I'm hearing from so many people that know me talking about that topic from your channel, and people's lives have been changed. The testimonies are not normal. They are absolutely like life changing testimonies that people are getting, that I'm still hearing from today. And even when I'm on some of those other platforms, they talk, some other folks talk about,
Oh, excellent.
talk about me being here with you.
Yeah. Oh man, amazing, amazing. You're doing great work. Like I said, I will give you a call tomorrow, family. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I should be on tomorrow with 19 keys. I'm about to hit the brother up. Make sure right
Oh,
now.
awesome. Yes, please give my brother my love, okay?
Definitely, I definitely will. Family, have a good night. Vicky, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Peace, y'all.
Thank you. Peace.